Welcome to Cozy Cabins podcast. Tonight, we take time to slow down and reflect on the timeless words of two poets who, in their own ways, captured the complexities of love, loss, and resilience. Christina Rossetti and Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Though they lived in different times and wrote from different perspectives, both Rossetti and Longfellow offer us a path towards understanding ourselves and the world around us better. Rossetti speaks to the quiet moments of reflection, the tender spaces where love lingers in memory, faith, and gentle acceptance. Longfellow, on the other hand, calls us to find strength in the face of adversity, to embrace life fully even when it challenges us, and to believe in the power of hope. We journey through their poetry. Think about how their words can connect to your own experiences. There is something timeless about the way these poets understand love and endurance, and you might just find that their reflections speak directly to your heart. So, settle in, take a deep breath, and let's explore the poetry of Christina Rossetti and Henry Wadsworth Longfellow together. Christina Georgina Rossetti was born in London on December 5th, 1830, into a family brimming with artistic talent. Her father, Gabriele Rossetti, was an Italian poet and political exile, and her mother, Frances Polidori, was a scholar who nurtured a love for literature in all her children. Christina grew up surrounded by creativity. In fact, her brother, Dante Gabriele Rossetti, became one of the leading figures in the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, an artistic movement that sought to revive the richness of medieval art and literature. Christina, however, was different. While her brother focused on visual art, Christina found her voice in poetry. Her work, though deeply connected to the pre-Raphaelite ideals of beauty, nature, and symbolism, was uniquely personal. She wrote not just about the external world, but about the inner life, her spiritual faith, her love for family, and her reflections on the nature of love itself. From a young age, Christina faced significant challenges. She suffered from bouts of illness and depression, which led her to live a somewhat secluded life. Yet, her poetry is full of rich imagery and emotional depth. Her words often explore the joys and sorrows of love, but always with a sense of quiet strength and dignity. We begin tonight with one of her most beloved poems, A Birthday, which celebrates the arrival of love with a joyful exuberance. Christina writes, "My heart is like a singing bird, whose nest is in a watered shoot. My heart is like an apple tree, whose boughs are bent with thick-set fruit. My heart is like a rainbow shell that paddles in a halcyon sea. My heart is gladder than all these, because my love is come to me. Raise me a dais of silk and down, hang it with vair and purple dyes. Carve it in doves and pomegranates, and peacocks with 100 eyes. Work it in gold and silver grapes, in leaves and silver fleur-de-lis, because the birthday of my life is come, my love is come to me. A Birthday is one of Rossetti's most famous poems, and it's easy to see why. The poem is a celebration of love's arrival, expressed through rich, vibrant imagery from the natural world. A singing bird, a fruitful apple tree, and a rainbow shell. Each of these images evokes a sense of abundance and joy. But this poem also speaks to the transformative power of love. In the second stanza, Rossetti imagines an ornate ceremonial dais, decorated with luxurious fabrics, intricate carvings, and symbols of beauty and fertility. The arrival of love elevates her life, making it something worth celebrating with grandeur. While Rossetti is often known for her more somber or religious works, A Birthday shows the poet in a joyful, almost triumphant mood. It's a reminder of the power that love has to renew and uplift us, to bring us joy and fulfillment. While Christina Rossetti's poetry often celebrates love, her own personal life was marked by periods of isolation and introspection. She was deeply religious, and her faith shaped much of her worldview. Throughout her life, Rossetti turned down 2 marriage proposals, one because her suitor was not a Christian, and the other because of differences in beliefs. This deep commitment to her faith was a guiding force in her life, and it often found its way into her poetry, particularly in her later years. Yet, despite her deep religious faith, Rossetti's poetry is not devoid of romance or emotion. In fact, some of her most moving works deal with love's complexities, its joys, its sorrows, and its inevitable connection to loss. Another famous poem, Remember, speaks to the delicate balance between love and memory, offering a tender reflection on the way love persists even after separation. In Remember, Rossetti writes, "Remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turn to go yet turning stay. Remember me when no more day by day you tell me of our future that you planned. Only remember me, you understand. It will be late to counsel then or pray. Yet if you should forget me for a while, and afterwards remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that once I had, better by far you should forget and smile than that you should remember and be sad." Remember is one of Rossetti's most poignant poems. It is a meditation on love and loss, written with such tenderness that it feels like a whispered farewell. The speaker asks to be remembered after they are gone, but with a quiet generosity They also urge that their beloved move on if remembering becomes too painful. Better by far you should forget and smile than you should remember and be sad. This poem reveals Rossetti's deep understanding of love, not just as a source of joy, but as something that can transcend absence and even death. It speaks to the quiet, enduring nature of love, a theme that runs through much of her work. Christina's sensitivity to the fleeting nature of love and life was no doubt influenced by her own experiences with illness and her profound faith. She understood that love, like life, is precious but temporary, and that it often lingers in memory even after it is gone. Rossetti's poems often explore the idea of love as something that echoes through time and memory. Her poem Echo is a beautiful example of this. In it, the speaker calls for a lost love to return, not physically, but in dreams and memories. It is a haunting and ethereal piece, capturing the sense of longing that often accompanies love. Come to me in the silence of the night. Come in the speaking silence of a dream. Come with soft, rounded cheeks and eyes as bright as sunlight on a stream. Come back in tears, O memory, hope, love of finished years. O dream, how sweet, too bittersweet, whose wakening should have been in paradise, where souls brimful of love abide and meet, where thirsting, longing eyes watch the slow door, that opening, letting in, lets out no more. Yet come to me in dreams, that I may live my very life again, though cold in death. Come back to me in dreams, that I may give pulse for pulse, breath for breath. Speak low, lean low, as long ago, my love, how long ago. In Echo, we hear Rossetti's characteristic blending of love, memory, life, and death. The speaker longs for a love that has passed, asking it to return in dreams, where the boundaries between past and present, life and death, can blur. It is a bittersweet poem filled with both longing and acceptance. The idea of love echoing through time, even after death, is one that Rossetti returns to often in her poetry. It is as if love, for her, is never truly lost. It simply transforms, becoming part of memory and the soul's experience. In addition to romantic and emotional love, Rossetti's poetry frequently touches on her deep spiritual devotion. Her religious beliefs were central to her life, and many of her poems explore the connection between divine love and human love. One of her most famous religious poems, Love Came Down at Christmas, beautifully captures her belief in the power of divine love to transcend human experience. It is a simple yet profound meditation on the meaning of love. Love came down at Christmas, love all lovely, love divine, Love was born at Christmas. Star and angels gave the sign. Worship we the Godhead, love incarnate, love divine. Worship we our Jesus, but wherewith for sacred sign? Love shall be our token, love be yours, and love be mine. Love to God and all men, love for plea and gift and sign. Love Came Down at Christmas is one of Rossetti's most well-known devotional poems. In it, love is portrayed as a divine force, something that transcends earthly experience and is embodied in the figure of Christ. The poem speaks to the idea of love as both a gift and a symbol of faith, binding humanity together through its power. For Rossetti, love was not just a personal experience, but something deeply connected to her faith. She saw love as a reflection of divine grace, a force that could lift people beyond their ordinary lives and connect them to something greater. This poem reminds us that love, in its highest form, is a source of both comfort and purpose. Christina Rossetti's poetry has endured because of its emotional depth and universal themes. Her exploration of love in all its forms, romantic, spiritual, and familial, continues to resonate with readers today. What makes her poetry so powerful is its quiet sincerity. Whether she's writing about the joy of love's arrival, the sorrow of its loss, or the hope of love's eternal presence, Rossetti does so with a grace that speaks directly. Her life, too, was one of quiet reflection and inner strength. Though she faced illness and personal challenges throughout her life, she remained deeply committed to her faith and her craft. She never sought the spotlight, but her work has outlasted her, touching generations of readers with its quiet beauty. Tonight, we've explored just a small part of Rossetti's rich poetic world, from the jubilant celebration of love in A Birthday to the bittersweet longing in Echo, and the spiritual devotion in Love Came Down at Christmas. Her poetry reminds us of the many facets of love, its joys, its sorrows, and its enduring power to transform our lives. Before we conclude tonight's episode, I'd like to leave you with one more of Christina Rossetti's poems. It's another of her most famous works, and it reflects her serene, accepting view of life, love, and death. It's called When I Am Dead, My Dearest. When I am dead, my dearest, sing no sad songs for me. Plant thou no roses at my head, nor shady cypress tree. Be the green grass above me, with showers of dewdrops wet. And if thou wilt remember, and if thou wilt forget, I shall not see the shadows, I shall not feel the rain. I shall not hear the nightingale sing on as if in pain. And dreaming through the twilight that doth not rise nor set, haply I may remember, and haply may forget. When I Am Dead, My Dearest is a beautiful, simple, yet profound poem about love, memory, and acceptance. Rossetti's speaker asks for no grand gestures of mourning, no roses, no cypress tree. Instead, she offers a calm acceptance of death, acknowledging that memory and forgetting are both natural parts of life. This poem, like so much of Rossetti's work, speaks to the peaceful acceptance of life's fleeting nature. Love, for Rossetti, does not need to be eternal to be meaningful. It exists in the present, in memory, and even in the act of letting go. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was born in 1807 in the coastal town of Portland, Maine. He grew up surrounded by books and a love for literature that would stay with him for his entire life. As a child, he wandered in the woods and beaches of New England, and that connection to nature shaped the way he saw the world. But Longfellow wasn't just a poet. He was a scholar, a teacher, and a deeply sensitive soul who felt the joys and the sorrows of life with an intensity that comes through in his writing. It's hard to talk about Longfellow without mentioning the deep personal loss he experienced. His first wife, Mary, died suddenly from complications during a miscarriage. His second wife, Fanny, whom he adored, tragically died after her dress caught fire. Longfellow himself tried to save her, but she died from her injuries, leaving him devastated. Despite these tragedies, Longfellow didn't let grief define him. Instead, he turned to poetry to cope with his pain. That's what I find so powerful about his work. It's not just about sadness or loss. It's about finding the strength to keep going. His words offer comfort, reminding us that life is a mix of joy and sorrow. But it's in these moments of difficulty that we find our deepest strength. One of his best-known poems, A Psalm of Life, feels like a personal call to action. Longfellow wrote it as a young man, and it's full of energy and hope. He's telling us not to let life pass us by, but to live with purpose, to act, and to move forward no matter what comes our way. It's a message that still resonates today, especially when life feels uncertain. Let's listen to it together. Tell me not, in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream, for the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art, to dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul. Not enjoyment and not sorrow is our destined end or way, but to act that each tomorrow find us farther than today. Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts, though stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb driven cattle, be a hero in the strife. Trust no future, however pleasant, let the dead past bury its dead. Act, act in the living present, heart within and God o'erhead. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing o'er life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing, shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. There's something in a psalm of life that feels so deeply motivating. Longfellow's not just telling us to live our lives, he's telling us to engage with them. He talks about leaving footprints on the sands of time, meaning the actions we take today will have an impact on the future. Our lives can inspire others, just as the great lives of the past inspire us. But there's also a quiet acknowledgement that life isn't always easy. He doesn't shy away from the fact that time is fleeting, that we'll face hardships along the way. Yet in the face of all of that, Longfellow encourages us to keep striving, to be up and doing. It's a reminder that progress, even in small steps, matters. Every day, we can move a little further forward, and those small efforts add up over time. My friend, you can take that and apply it to your own life. Whatever challenges you are facing, remember that each step forward, no matter how small, is meaningful. It's about showing up, doing the work, and having patience to see things through. One of the things that strikes me about Longfellow is his deep connection to nature. He found peace and inspiration in the world around him, whether it was a quiet forest, a flowing river, or a simple rainy day. For Longfellow, nature wasn't just a backdrop, it was his teacher. It showed him that life moves in cycles, that after every storm, there's calm, and that even in the darkest moments, there's beauty. His poem, The Rainy Day, is a perfect example of this. In it, he compares the weather to his own emotional state. He feels the heaviness of a dark, dreary day, but by the end of the poem, he reminds himself and us that the sun is always shining behind the clouds, even if we can't see it right away. Let's listen to a part of The Rainy Day. The day is cold and dark and dreary. It rains and the wind is never weary. The vine still clings to the moldering wall, but at every gust the dead leaves fall, and the day is dark and dreary. My life is cold and dark and dreary. It rains and the wind is never weary. My thoughts still cling to the moldering past, but the hopes of youth fall thick in the blast, and the days are dark and dreary. Be still, sad heart, and cease repining. Behind the clouds is the sun still shining. Thy fate is the common fate of all. Into each life some rain must fall. Some days must be dark and dreary. That line, into each life some rain must fall, feels so true, doesn't it? Longfellow isn't denying the reality of hardship. He acknowledges that life can be dark and difficult, that we all face those cold, dreary days. But even in that recognition, there's hope. Behind the clouds is the sun still shining. It's such a gentle reminder that even when things seem overwhelming, the storm will pass. The rain is temporary, and there's always light waiting on the other side. It's a message we can all take to heart. Whatever you're going through, remember that it's okay to feel the weight of it, but also know that brighter days are ahead. For Longfellow, writing poetry was his way of processing grief and finding hope again. After Fanny's death, he wrote some of his most heartfelt and reflective pieces. His work became a way for him to heal, but in doing so, he offered that same healing to others. His poems give us permission to feel sadness and loss, but they also encourage us to move forward, to find light even in the darkest of times. In his poem, Footsteps of Angels, Longfellow speaks about the quiet comfort that comes from remembering those we've lost. It's a deeply personal piece, written in the aftermath of his first wife's death, and yet it feels like it could speak to anyone who has ever experienced loss. Let's listen to a passage from Footsteps of Angels. And with them the being beauteous, who unto my youth was given, more than all things else to love me, and is now a saint in heaven. With a slow and noiseless footstep comes that messenger divine, takes the vacant chairs beside me, lays her gentle hand in mine. And she sits and gazes at me with those deep and tender eyes, like the stars so still and saint-like, looking downward from the skies. Uttered not, yet comprehended, is the Spirit's voiceless prayer, soft rebukes in blessings ended, breathing from her lips of air. In this poem, Longfellow reflects on how the memory of those we've lost can still bring comfort, almost as though their presence remains with us in spirit. He paints this beautiful, tender image of his departed loved one returning to sit with him, not as a figure of sorrow, but as a calming, guiding presence. It's a reminder that those we've lost are still with us, in a way, offering peace and wisdom even after they're gone. This is one of the ways Longfellow coped with grief. Rather than shutting down or turning away from his sorrow, he embraced it, allowing it to become part of his life. Through his poetry, he found a way to honor the memory of those he loved, while also finding comfort in the idea that they were still with him in some form, watching over him, giving him strength to carry on. This is something we can all take to heart. When we lose someone we care about, it's easy to feel the weight of that loss. But Longfellow's poetry reminds us that love doesn't end with death. It transforms. The memories we carry of those we've lost become a part of us, a quiet presence that can offer comfort and strength when we need it most. As we've seen tonight, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's poetry is about more than just expressing emotions. It's all about finding a way through them. His life was marked by loss, yet he never lost sight of the beauty in the world. His poetry serves as a reminder that even in the face of deep sorrow, there is still joy to be found, still light to be sought. Longfellow's ability to find hope in hardship is something that has resonated with readers for generations. His words offer a kind of quiet resilience, a way of seeing the world that acknowledges pain, but also embraces the possibility of healing. You can take this lesson with you, that even in the darkest of times, there is always the possibility of light, always the chance for renewal. Whether it's in the beauty of nature, the love of family and friends, or the quiet presence of memory, Longfellow believed that life, in all its complexity, was still worth living fully. I'd like to end tonight's journey through Longfellow's work with one of his shorter but deeply reflective poems, The Arrow and the Song. It speaks to the idea that the things we do in our life, our actions, our words, our love, can have lasting impacts even when we don't see where they land. It's a reminder that the good we put out into the world continues on, often in ways we can't even imagine. Longfellow writes, I shot an arrow into the air. It fell to earth, I knew not where. For so swiftly it flew, the sight could not follow it in its flight. I breathed the song into the air. It fell to earth, I knew not where. For who has sight so keen and strong that it can follow the flight of song? Long, long afterward, in an oak, I found the arrow still unbroke, and the song from beginning to end I found again in the heart of a friend. The arrow and the song captures that idea so beautifully that our actions, whether they be acts of kindness, moments of love, or even a simple word of encouragement, can resonate far beyond what we ever know. Longfellow reminds us that the things we send out into the world, whether an arrow or a song, can be found again in unexpected ways and in the hearts of others. It's a hopeful thought, though, isn't it? The idea that what we do matters, even if we don't see the results right away. The love we share, the kindness we show, it all has a way of coming back, even if it takes time. Thank you for joining me tonight to explore the life and poetry of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. His words offer us comfort and wisdom, reminding us that even in the hardest moments, we have the strength to keep moving forward. Whether through the love of others, the beauty of nature, or the quiet presence of memory, there is always something to hold on to. I hope his poetry has brought you a sense of calm, something you can carry with you as you go about your day or prepare for a peaceful rest. Remember, as Longfellow taught us, that behind every cloud is the sun still shining, waiting to break through. Until next time, my friend, take care of yourself and remember that the good you do, the love you share, will find its way back to you, often when you least expect it. As we come to the end of our time together, reflecting on the poetry of Christina Rossetti and Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, it's clear that both poets have offered us something truly valuable. Gentle reminders about the nature of life, love, and resilience. Through their words, we've seen two very different perspectives on how to endure life's challenges. But they share a common message that beauty, love, and hope can be found even in the hardest moments. Rossetti's poetry brings us a quiet, reflective space to understand love, not just in its joy, but also in how it lingers in memory and faith. She reminds us that love endures, not just in life, but in the peaceful acceptance of loss and change. Longfellow, on the other hand, shows us that life, despite its sorrows, is always worth living with purpose and hope. His work encourages us to keep moving forward, to find strength in the small moments, and to believe that there's always light waiting behind the clouds. So, as you move forward from here, think about how these poets' words can apply to your own life. Maybe you'll carry with you Rossetti's message of quiet endurance, or perhaps Longfellow's belief in resilience and action. Both remind us of the power of love, whether it's love for others, love for the world, or love for the simple act of living fully. Thank you for spending this time with me, reflecting on the timeless wisdom these poets offer. I hope you found some peace in their words, a moment to pause and reflect on how we too can navigate the ups and downs of life with a little more grace and a little more strength. Until we meet again, take care of yourself. And remember, friend, that even in the quietest moments, there's always something beautiful to be found.